I was a teenager the last time I could comprehend the major religion's apparent obsession with the suppression of sexuality. I was able to understand it then because I had an adolescent perspective on sex itself, a perspective that was by and large influenced by my surrounding culture. That was and is a culture that tantalizes adults inhabitants with flashes of sexually exciting advertisements and entertainment, while demonizing children for showing interest therein. As a result, I grew up acknowledging sex as some dirty, private indulgence that only seedy adults and rebellious youths talked about openly. It was an evil temptation which my culture's primary religion made clear with its rules against premarital sex. After all, biblically, anyone having sex outside of holy matrimony is obviously a lewd whoremonger, not a respectable citizen. As a young adult, I am perplexed by the angle religion seems to have on sexuality. I can understand the benefits of it in the context of an ancient time when the Bible was penned. I can see why when fathers essentially owned their daughters, it was culturally beneficial for the daughter's sexuality to be large bargaining chips in the matter of leverage for suitors to be appealing and forthright as possible before snatching up daughters and dowries. However, in a time and place with enough feminine empowerment to allow both genders full rights over their own bodies, partners, and livelihoods, it doesn't seem to make any sense to demonize sexuality itself, and surely God would have known that. This is one of those examples where people will justify their behavior of typical modern humans that contradicts the Bible by explaining that we need to read it within the context of its place and time. It's particularly obnoxious when those same people won't admit that a book which needs to be read through the specific perspective of thousands of years ago in a place thousands of miles away is presently obsolete in terms of daily life instruction. They can't seem to grasp why such should not be used as a guideline for all morality and healthy living in contemporary times, even if it also mentions a few obvious rules that still make sense, like not killing people. I've digressed. Linked below, you'll find another horrible poem performed by a man named Jefferson Bethke, whose most popular poem I've responded to recently. I've referenced and linked his less popular poem here because it's an example of Christian guilt and obsession against something as innocent as physical relations. Typical born-again Christians will rant like Bethke does that they used to live impure lives, indulging in worldly pleasures like sex. These people consistently fail to explain why that worldly pleasure is justifiably condemned as sin. If they were to condemn rape, then I'd be on the same page. On that note, if any of you viewers are former rapists who can only suppress your urges to force non-consensual sex upon unsuspecting victims while clinging to Christianity, then by all means, believe your hearts out. In fact, stop watching this video now, and don't watch any of my other ones either. However, biblically, rape is on more than one occasion condoned in certain circumstances, such as the rapist's agreement to marry the victim and give her father some silver. Regardless, Jefferson and other born-again Christians aren't shamefully admitting to and guilt-tripping those they preach to over rape. They're condemning intercourse of a consensual nature. Such sexuality should be in no way offensive to a God who apparently intelligently designed us to have intense physical attractions to one another and to receive astounding physical pleasure from one another by engaging in the act he allegedly designed us to commit. Sex between two consenting adults does no intrinsic harm to humanity or society. It offers risks and benefits which apply strictly to those who engage in it. In this modern age, I can view this condemnation as nothing short of some vendetta against happiness due to an obsolete taboo that's none of the church's business in the first place. Many moderate religious people will argue that as long as it scares the young people out of having sex before they're ready for a child or mature enough to handle the risk of sexually transmitted infections and so forth, then religion is doing a service. My solution is not to scare people out of fulfilling their natural compulsions. I suggest that we educate them on how to accept and address their natural desires in the safest way possible, and let them take it from there. One glance down the hallways of a poor Bible Belt high school is enough to demonstrate that preaching abstinence only and threatening hellfire doesn't stop all teens from having sex. It only persuades many of them to feel guilty about the mistakes they weren't informed enough to prevent. Religious threats and scare tactics have been replaced by a more civil, logical, and effective method for raising responsible, intelligent, independent citizens. It's called education.